Now, the motion on the floor is to, I'm sorry, before we do that, we do need to reestablish quorum.
Okay. Since the quorum this morning, I've only had 6 people added. If you came in after the quorum announcement this morning, and your name isn't Diane Thorne, Tony Renda, Roger Stone, Lucas Overby, Steve LaBianca, or Dana Cummings, please announce yourself.
Okay.
Nikolai Wenzel, Lee County.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Sasha, I think we have you already. Yeah, you were on the original quorum.
Yeah.
Ron, is it? Okay.
Okay, gotcha, thank you. Anyone else? Let me see if I can.
Bear with us for a second as we reestablish quorum.
We have 65 delegates. 33 would be the majority. 33 is a quorum, and the 2/3 is being figured out. 44. 44.
Okay, I'll re-announce that. We have a quorum of 65, 33 majority, 44 is 2/3. All right, with that, the motion currently on the floor and open for discussions is the bylaws change motion number 2. Was moved by Dana, seconded by, Greg Lennon. And the floor is still open for discussion. Please stand to be recognized. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to state that I believe the 5-year period should be changed to just going until the next annual business meeting. I think that it should say that you should be completely revoked permanently after a second mishap, but I think that that 5-year period goes through a lot of changes in personnel in the committee, and that could be deemed as unfair to someone.
Okay, are you moving to amend?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend to change the 5-year first offense provision, I guess we'll call it, until the next annual business meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a second for the amendment?
Second.
Who seconded?
Mike Kane.
Mike Kane seconds. Floor is open for discussion. Please stand to be recognized. Yes, Dana, you're recognized.
I actually think that it might be better to do it with the, not until the next annual business meeting, but until two annual business meetings. So like the second, I don't know what the order would be, but yeah, like a complete turnover of officers.
I see what you're saying. What?
The second subsequent meeting.
Yeah. That would be 2.
Actually, hang on a second. Before amending the amendment, let's not go down that path. Let's just see if we can do that by friendly amendment. Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable. I was going to say, though, in Article 2 of our Constitution, it does state that you cannot be, if I have this right, you cannot be taken out of membership within a 6-month period before the next meeting.
After the meeting concludes, you can't that next 6 months.
I like the right.
But I believe that, yeah, that's a standing rule, and the rule is subsequent, so it would be after the business meeting.
I would say yes to a friendly amendment, and I think that the 2 business meeting turnover might make more sense.
Okay, all right. Seconder, do you agree?
Yes, sir.
That was Mike.
No, Mike Kane.
Mike.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we will treat that as a friendly amendment. So the amendment on the floor is to make it so the 5-year provision is stricken, and that the initial revocation for first offense, I'll just say, is until not the immediately following annual business meeting, but the one thereafter. Is that correct?
Second following business.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, we'll tighten up the language on that so it's 100% clear, because when you're getting into the one after the next one, it can be vague at times, so we will work on the language. Floor is open for discussion. Tom, you recognize?
If you just made it for 1 year and then the next executive.
That's probably
meeting,
better language.
That would be, cover it, because the annual year would take care of.
Yeah, I think if we said
one.
The next business meeting with a minimum of 1 year, would that, you know?
No,
A 1 year suspension, lifting at the next.
Actually, yeah, a 1 year revocation would solve this problem.
Yeah, a 1 year revocation would, I was gonna say, 1 year revocation takes care of that, because you skip the business meeting, or you can go into the next business meeting and the next, 1 year revocation would be.
At the
Right.
annual business meeting.
But what that
after
doesn't
one-
do is it doesn't let.
After a 1 year
after
revocation
1 year
period.
revocation,
Yeah.
But
All right.
But that does not let for an entire turnover of officers.
Yes, it does. That
Yes,
was-
it does, because it can occur 6 months subsequent to an annual business meeting. Now that is, just so everyone is clear, that is for executive committee members. That does not apply to general members.
6 months.
The 6-month thing, right, the 6 months subsequent to the annual business meeting. And the reason that provision exists is so that, you know, basically there's not a move to overturn an election, effectively. All right, so that language acceptable, just a minute, Lee, we'll come back to that. So the language I'm hearing is acceptable at a 1 year period, because that would effectively do what you're trying to do. Okay, Mike, you agree?
I agree.
Okay, very good. All right, so the amendment is to change the 5-year provision to a 1 year provision. And then with appeal at the next annual business meeting after the 1 year period.
And it would be the responsibility, I suppose, of the secretary to keep track of the date.
I think it would be beholden upon the member to file the appeal.
Yeah.
For the appeal, I'm finding that when the suspension is over, like, when the suspension ends, if it ends after a year of the date of suspension,
The appeal would be at the next business
not the
meeting.
appeal though, this is for the.
Oh, this is for the revocation? Yeah. So are we just talking a 1 year period then? Because once the revocation happens, the appeal process has already happened. The appeal process happens before the revocation. So once the appeal has gone through, if a member so chooses to appeal, then it's really all we're talking about is the period of time. And once the period of time expires, there's basically that person can reapply for membership. So really there's no necessity that I see that we need to have that person, and I apologize folks, as the chair, I probably shouldn't be speaking to this motion so much, but I just want to be absolutely clear on what the intent is. So once the 1 year revocation happens, there's really no need to make it coincide with the business meeting, because all the member needs to do at that point is sign the non-aggression pledge again, and their membership would be restored. Okay, so we're in agreement then with the 1 year, basically strike the 5 year, make it 1 year, would meet all the criteria. Mike?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we're good.
And the secretary, and then I said, would keep track of the date, because if it's going to be 1 year, it would be one, they would have to know when they were allowed to come
The
back.
secretary already verifies
Yeah.
the status
So, yeah.
and membership.
All right, further discussion on the amendment. Lee?
Well, I certainly want to vote for the most righteous answer here. But what I was wondering was, why was the 5 years chosen? Was there a good rationale for that, or was it a number?
Well, no, originally I think it was just to be for life, or for just for
Oh.
life, and I wanted to.
5 years is better than life.
Well,
Yeah. Basically, you know, we were thinking that there should be some period of time, some sentence, if you will, for violation of the NAP. But you know, perhaps 1 year for a first offense is much more appropriate. And Steve, did you want to speak?
Just a point of information, are we right now discussing the proposed friendly amendment to this proposal?
Well, this is actually an amendment to the main motion.
Right.
The friendly amendment was a friendly amendment to the
So
amendment.
we're not just limited to discussing the friendly amendment, right?
No, the friendly amendment has been resolved. So we are discussing,
Okay.
we are discussing the actual amendment, which is to change the length of time for a first offense from 5 years to 1 year. Yes, Steve.
But I would also ask, and Dana and I discussed this shortly for a little while, a short time ago. I would like to know if the existing rule here, bylaw here, meets or is sufficient to meet the criteria that the law prescribes?
Yes,
If
yes.
it does, I suggest, and I would propose that we table this amendment until all the bugs in this thing can be fixed for next year. I want to table.
Oh, I'm sorry. When you said the existing language,
The existing language, the bylaw that's in here now, that this is supposed to change, it says proposed change.
right.
Does the existing language meet the criteria and is it sufficient to meet, the requirements of the law?
It's up in the air whether it does, because the problem now is that the method for removal, here's what we have. What is in our standing rules does meet compliance. Okay, the existing method for suspending and effectively removing someone is in compliance. But we didn't think that it was appropriate to have something of such gravity in the standing rules that can be changed by the EC.
Okay. I understand.
So, but legally, we are covered with the current language in the standing rule.
Well, I'm going to
Yes.
stand by my original idea that I think this is far too vague.
Yeah, and Steve, I do have a point of order here. We are currently only speaking to this amendment. When we go back to the main motion is when we will have the opportunity to entertain a motion to table. Okay. And yeah, my apologies for letting that drip. Further discussion on the amendment. Okay, having seen none, the question is called. All in favor of the amendment to change the period for first offense from 5 years to 1 year, please rise. Clearly a majority. Okay, thank you. So the amendment is passed. Now the main motion is on the floor as amended. I'm sorry, am I out of order?
No.
All right. All right. All right. Now, Steve, you're recognized.
As I said before, and I'm not sure what other people feel about this, maybe there are a sufficient enough number of people who think this is vague enough and not succinct enough, as I explained before about the non-aggression and all these other things, that in fact, that we need to do a better job of crafting this for next year. As long as the current language meets the criteria of the law, I propose a motion that we table this until next time.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor to table. Do I see a second? Yes, seconded. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and speak to the motion to table just briefly because it did bring up a question of law. Our current standing rules do address the letter of the law, and we did confirm with the Chief Legal Counsel for the Division of Elections that it does so. Having said that, the language in this motion is actually more prohibitive of the EC. Right now, the EC has a lot more power to suspend, to remove an official than it would under this regulation. And there's a lot of ambiguity into it. It could be interpreted, in fact, it was interpreted in one particular recent case, that a removal from office is permanent. And that can be done right now by the EC. So it's not as if we're making this motion to give the executive committee more power. We're actually making this motion to the bylaws so that it's not in the standing rules, which the EC can change at will, and it gives less power to the EC over this matters. It increases the criteria required to be met in order to remove someone from the party. So I just wanted to make the point, this is actually more protection for members rather than less, given our current standing rules. All right, the floor is open. A motion to table has been made, and I don't think that is open for discussion, and if I'm not mistaken, that does require 2/3 for a motion to table?
Yeah.
Okay, so a motion to table does require 2/3. All in favor of tabling, please rise. Okay, the motion fails, so the main motion is still on the floor, and the main motion is still open for discussion. Yes, Brian, you're recognized.
I was thinking about an amendment that instead of 2/3, I was thinking 3/4. That way, I don't unanimous is too much, but then 2/3, you can still have a significant factor. You had 3/4, that'd be 2 more people to make the suspension. I was thinking 3/4.
3/4 of the EC?
Correct.
Is that on the primary or on the appeal?
That would be on the primary.
On the primary. Okay, and how about on the appeal? Or if it's
3/4 for both.
3/4 for both. Okay, so we do have a motion to amend Carl Dickey seconds. So the amendment is to increase the majority required to 3/4 majority. Okay? So that's been moved and seconded. Floor is open for discussion. I saw Mike and then Steve. Mike, your recommends?
I think in this country we have a pretty good system. It's called a jury trial, and it's unanimous. So I do not support 3/4 because it is not unanimous. I think if somebody does something wrong, that they should have an opportunity to have essentially what we have currently, which is a fair and impartial trial by the peers, so to speak. And also is that unanimous is probably the best way to do it if you want to move forward with this. Thanks.
Steve, your
I was
recommends?
going to suggest as a friendly amendment, and I don't know exactly in the national peak bylaws what it applies to, but there are a number of rules that require 7/8. And I would suggest 7/8 would be, I would go for unanimous myself, but I'm sure you said you don't probably like that, but 7/8, I would entertain 7/8. 31. Friendly amendment.
Okay, since we are on the main motion, it is up to you. We have 2 friendly amendments on the floor. Do you accept either?
I was also for 3/4.
Okay, 3/4 is accepted. Seconder is Greg. Do you agree with 3/4?
Sure.
Okay, 3/4 it is. So the main motion on the floor as friendly amendment, which I might remind everyone completely violates parliamentary procedure, but we would never get through this unless we did it this way. So we now have a main motion on the floor where 2/3 has been stricken and 3/4 has been added. Floor is open for discussion on the main motion. Please rise to be recognized. Tom.
Yeah, to make this easier, why don't we propose an amendment to add, not only can they appeal to the EC, but they can appeal to the delegates at the next convention where a mere majority of the delegates can restore their membership. So they can appeal to the delegates at the next business meeting to restore their membership with a mere majority of delegates approving.
Okay, for the interest of time, I am going to limit discussion on this main motion to an additional 10 minutes because we're well over on this particular motion. Will you accept an appeal to the delegation in addition to the appeal to the EC, or?
Yeah.
Instead, so they can do either?
Both. No, they can do both. If the EC still says no, they can go to the delegates.
But with the 1-year provision? Yeah, by that time...
No, at the next business meeting.
So that could be 6 months.
It could be 6
Oh,
months.
so I see what you're saying. So if they chose to appeal at the convention even within the 1-year period?
Correct, the next business meeting. If they want to do it, and the delegates can override it.
Okay. Do you concur?
I mean, I just think that with the time constraints we have here, that return, I mean, we would.
What are we doing that's more important than taking care of the delegates?
What's more important?
Than taking care of the membership. This is an individual
They
member.
should be able to, I mean, if they have a problem, they should go and talk to the EC about it. They should go to the EC out.
But if the EC
They should not
doesn't...
let them back to the
Okay.
EC. But I mean, I think then we're looking at
Yeah.
having like a jury trial here, taking a whole day, trying to hear a case of a suspended officer and the probably appeal win. I mean, we have better business to do than that.
Yeah, I'd just like to remind everyone the question should be addressed to the chair. So I'm assuming that you disagree with that friendly?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't
All right.
offering it as a friendly amendment.
You are actually offering as an amendment. Okay. Do I hear a second for the amendment?
Seconded.
No, we don't. We're back on the main motion. Correct. Yeah. I'm sorry, who seconded? Steve LaBianca seconds? Okay, floor is open for discussion on the amendment to allow the...
To appeal to the delegates?
to appeal to the delegates at the convention. Okay.
I agree with this amendment simply because regardless of what the EC is composed of, who's on there, what's going on in particular at any given time, the delegation is what the party is.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to ask that we limit discussion on this. If anyone has something that is truly critical to this conversation, Jared?
Yeah, I agree with what Tom is saying regarding appealing to the delegation. However, I think it's unnecessary to keep in there the appeals process to the EC. If 3/4 of the EC votes in favor of the suspension to begin with, then to go back and appeal to the EC again, and then to appeal to the delegation at 50%, it seems like overkill.
Okay, so Tom, can you restate your motion to amend? Would you concur that the appeal to the delegation should strike the appeal to the EC at that point, now that we have 3/4?
I think it's an either or. They could do, if the EC, if they fail in their appeal to the EC, they should be able to bring it to the delegates. Or if they want to just say, I'll wait till the next convention and take it to the delegates, if they don't want to deal with the EC, that should be available too.
Okay,
Should be
Charlotte, I should
either or.
recognize.
With respect, Jared, for example, tomorrow, I could make that microphone go crazy. But tomorrow, somebody could do something, suffer suspension, and have to wait many months. Whereas at least with this, they have a 30-day possibility to explain themselves and come back into full membership.
Okay. And Peter, could I ask that you turn down, oh, you're on it, the transceiver? You're playing with it? Okay, good. All right, so we have an amendment on the table. Was that amendment seconded?
Yes, it was seconded, but I need some words for words.
Okay. The language is can appeal 3/4 of the EC or appeal by majority of the delegation.
At the next business.
At the next business meeting. Okay, so we're in concurrence with that. Okay, at this time I'd like to call the question on the amendment to include the ability to appeal by majority vote to the delegation. All in favor, please stand. That's really close. 1, 2. I count 27, oh wait, 28, 30, I count 31. Can someone verify my count? Oh, I think I missed
Dana,
Sasha.
are you standing?
I'm standing.
I said 34.
Yeah, I think I missed a couple people in the back there. Yeah, I see 3 that I missed. All right, yeah, 34, the motion carries. So the amendment does include the appeal to the delegation. And we are running very, very close here, folks. So now I would like to move on to the main motion. As amended a couple of different times. Just to let you know, the amendment changes are that 2/3 is now 3/4 in all cases, and the appeal can also be made to the delegation, majority voting to overrule the decision of the executive committee. Yeah, and 5 years to 1. So those are the amendments, okay? And we'll work on the exact specifics. Ray, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, I move that we move this to be studied by a committee. Because regardless of what we've said here, I still don't know what the members would be voting on, what an act of non-aggression is, how you can restore that. I just think that the language and this particular thing is not...
If I could just advise you on the background of this, a motion to commit may not be appropriate in this case because this is being advanced by the Rules Committee. So this was the proposal of the...
It needs to go back into rules.
Okay, I guess a motion to recommit is appropriate.
You can do that.
Yeah, you can do
But
that.
then we can't change it until the next.
correct.
Yeah.
It has to be changed at an annual convention.
Okay, all right.
Let me just say, the reason that I wouldn't be for tabling this motion is because, like I think Adrian stated, right now, it's left very open.
Yeah.
Where someone can be suspended by the current EC for life and not have the ability to come back.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
if you got it.
Just to let you know, folks, the way the rules are worded right now is the EC can revoke someone for life by 2/3 vote and 2/3 if appealed.
If we were to recommit this, it would go to the next annual convention. The motion to table this to the next annual convention has already failed.
Yeah, that's just a variation on table.
Yeah, that's...
It's a variation on table.
Yeah, actually, I would agree on a point of order that since the motion to table, which would achieve the same result, has failed, that a motion to recommit would be out of order. So, my apologies on that, right? All right, the motion is still on the floor, and I've got 3 minutes till the deadline. So if you have any further discussion, please rise, but please keep it brief.
Call the question.
The question has been called, and seeing no one rising in discussion, the question is now called. All in favor of the motion, please rise.
This is the overall motion.
I prefer the flexibility. Taking half of it.
That's well over a majority.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the motion carries. The amendment is passed.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion
Yes.
that we postpone items 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and 6 until after the election.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion to postpone amendments 3, 4, 5, and 6 until after the election has been made and seconded. Discussion? Having heard none, the question is called. All in favor of postponing amendments 3 through 6 until after the elections, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, there we go. I thought that one would be an easy one. All right, let me skip ahead in the agenda here. Okay, at this time, I'm going to recognize Greg Lennon for the nominating committee report.
We have come up with a full procedure for nominating, including a questionnaire with the platform and a form for intent to run and an interview with the people, and we've been through roughly 80, 85 people. The majority of people, they stop the process themselves for various reasons. They're not a libertarian, they can't do the seat they thought they could run for, we don't comply for the seat they thought they wanted to run for, but 90-something% of the people actually end the process themselves. And we're still vetting people for running in 2014 because there are people that haven't decided yet. There might be some things we can still do to improve the nominating committee, but we've come a long way. And to my knowledge, it's the first time we've actually had, the LPF has actually had a program that actually worked.
Yep, I concur with that. And I think the process is working. And another thing, it's really good because we've always had a lot of people saying, oh, well, I want to run for office. And they're kind of non-committal and nondescript about the office that we want to run for, or they want to run for. And this process really gives us the opportunity to say, okay, well, here's what you need to do, and here's what we'll do, and here's the parameters, and here's the expectations. And a lot of people realize that, oh, running for office is actually a lot of work. We may not want to do it. So we've seen a lot of fallout because of that. But it also ensures that the candidates we do have are willing to make the commitment to do what it takes to actually win, which is something I like.
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to give a special thanks to Jim Carney from Broward County. He's currently in California, but he's stuck with me for the last 4 years to make this process work.
Yeah, and I might add, he's actually been doing the work on this from California.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, kudos to him. And please pass on our thanks, Greg. All right, at this time, the chair will entertain nominations for officers to the EC. I will first read the current nominees for the various positions. For chair, we have Charles Braden and Dana Moxley Cummings. For vice chair, we have Mike Kane and Alex Snicker. For at-large Rep 1, we have Pete Bloom and Jared Grafoni. And for at-large seat 3, we have Greg Lennon and David Hester. Are there any additional nominations from the floor at this time? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the preference vote section. And at this time, I will be recognizing each of the candidates. We'll be starting with chair, and we will be recognizing and voting on the candidates in the order that they were nominated. So at this time, I recognize Charles for 2 minutes. Charles, you have the floor.
Do you want me to take the podium?
Yeah, I think in this case, it will allow all candidates to take the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegates, I just want to explain first why I'm running for the chairmanship. Is that I've got a 6-year-old little girl, and she's growing up in a world that I'm not sure I like, and I really want to do everything I can to make her world better. Fortunately, I believe we have the answer. I mean, we heard today that the party is growing. I mean, 28%, it's hard to argue with those numbers, 1,200%, it's hard to argue. And we're going to have some interesting problems with that kind of growth. It's the kind of problem that every organization wants, is that we're growing crazy and liberty is rising, to use our motto here today. And when we start looking at those problems, we're going to need somebody who can take care of the scope of this problem. There are 67 counties across time zones spread hundreds of miles apart. The EC itself is now at 21 members. That's a lot of people, plus the committees. We haven't even started to talk about how many people are on the committees. That's a lot of balls in the air to juggle. I've been juggling a lot of balls like that, before, because I have an MBA and I've run large organizations like this that are spread out across the globe with hundreds and sometimes thousands of employees. It's a big, big job, and I have those skills to do it, and I want to apply those skills because I really believe the Libertarian Party has the message that's going to make the state of Florida better, and I really believe that I'm the best person to help move this party forward. We have candidates here who are going to be running and going to need our help, and it's our job to get those candidates the best support they can get and to go find new ones to run also. And sooner or later, and this is important, sooner or later, the campaign is over, win or lose. Hope you win, hope you win. Hope our guys win. But all these people, you have 500 volunteers now. What's going to happen to those people? This chair has to be building the infrastructure to capture those volunteers when those elections are done so that they stay active and they keep the party growing forward. I have those skills. I've been a candidate. I've grown the party from all levels of it, and I'm asking you to vote for me and let me keep doing that. Thank you.
Okay, and our next candidate is Dana Moxley Cummings.
It's a lot better standing up here than in the ground over there. Hi, you guys. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for letting me speak and run for your chair. I think that Shala's made a great point about how this job is definitely a full-time job. I've heard everyone I spoke to that's done this before has told me it's almost like 2 full-time jobs. And lucky for me, it happened to come in at the timing was right, where I was about to go back into the workforce. And my husband and I decided to sacrifice that income and let me focus all my energy on this job should I be given it. So I have the time, I have the experience. I've been managers of hotels, I've been managers of multiple hotels and restaurants, and I know how to manage people. I've coached varsity swim teams to 60, 120, 20 people. I know it's not thousands of people, but that's part of what I want to do as chair. Is I want to encourage everybody, it's not just me. I want every single person in this room to be held accountable for the party's growth. Not just the EC, not just the chair, we all need to sit there every day and ask ourselves, what is liberty worth to us? Every day we should ask ourselves that. So that every day we may be thinking about it during the day and thinking, what can we do to sacrifice for this? Should we do something active? If we have money, should we maybe set some aside and put that there? We need to be stepping out of our comfort zones. I mean, that's what I'm doing by standing up here right now. I think that when you're involved in something like we are right now that's growing so fast and that has this amazing potential, the only way to get there is by taking risks. And like we were talking earlier, you have to be dangerous. You have to go somewhere you're not 100% sure of. Like, you guys might be thinking about me, like, who is this girl and why does she think she can do this job? Well, I mean, I know I can do this job if given the opportunity. And I just need you guys to maybe step out of the comfort zone a little bit as well and give me that chance. But not just with me, even if I don't win, I want every single person to set goals for themselves, reach that goal, and then set a new one. You can't be comfortable. You can't, as soon as you're comfortable, time to sit back and realign ourselves, make new goals, reach those. If we all keep doing that together, I think that we would be unstoppable, and I think we've only gone from there. One of the main things I also think we need to really focus on is fundraising. We want to talk here forever about candidates, all this great stuff we want to do. We are not going to do any of it without money. I mean, right now, I will set a goal to have $50,000, which is almost double what we have today, in our account next year at this meeting, and I don't know what I would do if that doesn't happen, but something crazy. That's the goal I'll set right now, that if I'm chair, that's what we'll have. So thank you guys very much, and I hope you'll consider voting for me. Thanks.
Point of order.
Do we have to ask the candidates questions at any point in time?
I don't believe that time will necessarily permit that, I'm afraid. But I just want to explain to everyone how the vote will work. The vote will, you know what, I think, hang on a second. I think given our time, we can open up a 5-minute period where the delegates can ask questions to the candidates for chair. I think we have time for that, and I think that would probably be important. So at this time, and I will also, I'm sorry?
5 minutes each or total?
5 minutes total. So the delegates will choose which candidate they want to direct their question to or both. But I ask that everyone, try to limit the questions and that the candidates try to limit the responses. So at this time, if anyone would like to ask a question of either of the candidates, and for the matter of expediency, I will allow that the delegates direct the question to the candidate. Yes, Steve?
I'd ask both the candidates to tell us how long they've been members of the Libertarian Party, what positions they've held, and what their activism has been, for how much time they've been involved.
Okay. I think we could just, I think we can just
You can hear me in the
address.
back? Okay. I've been a member since 2008, and stepping on stuff, making noise again. I've worked as county chair, I've been vice chair, I was director at large, I've been an activist, I've been a candidate, but that was for that other party, so not necessarily for the LPF. So those are what I've done over the years that I've been in the LPF, and various committees.
I've been a member of the LPF, I think, since October of last year, and I'm currently the chairman of the Legislative Review Committee and the Rules Committee. And I think that, and I've been an activist ever since I was a little girl, but I think what is also important to notice or to take note of is the amount of work that someone accomplishes when doing these things. And just being involved in the LPF doesn't really say much, but what you do while you're there and the committees, I think, is what's important.
Okay. Further questions from the delegates? Yes, Pete, you're recognized.
So there are more counties in Florida than there are delegates here right now. What would be your strategy to make the party grow so that we don't just have giant gaps in the map and that this is an entire statewide organization?
Okay, we'll go ahead and reverse the order on that one, Dave.
Well, like I said, I think really, where we are right now